Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I feel like I need to rant about this. Really, I'm going to rant about this because it is absolutely the worst nutrition and fitness trend I have probably ever seen. And keep in mind, I have been around the fitness world for over 25 years. Okay, I first kind of started trying to lose weight in my late teens, getting into shape, reading all this stuff. I'm 47 now. I've seen some things, and I have to honestly say the carnivore thing is the most insane I have ever seen, and it's downright scary. And when I say this, you get people, they use almost the same crazy logic vegans do, but obviously an extreme deeper, of every time you bring up issues with deficiencies in veganism, like, what are you saying, there's something wrong with eating plants and vegetables? It's like, no, obviously not. The issue is your potential deficiencies. Okay, but they don't seem to grasp that. The carnivores take it 10 times further, because that is the problem. It's not meat. I don't have any problem with meat. I don't have any problem with animal protein, any of these things. I'm very, very pro animal protein, right? I'm very for these things. I'm very pro dairy. I'm one of the most pro-dairy people you will meet in the fitness world. It is something I believe in consuming every single day, and I think it is almost magical food for muscle growth, right? I almost put dairy into a mythical category, borderline PED level, okay? That is how strongly I feel about dairy. So if anything, some of this people would think that I have some bias for it. And I would be inclined to be biased for it, but it's ludicrous, okay? It's absolutely ludicrous. And what's scary to me is that large numbers of people are buying into it, that anyone could be convinced of this crazy idea that vegetables are bad for you, or these anti-nutrients. It's like the chain of logic. The amount of anti-science that you have to hold. And when you bring this up, people start bringing other conspiracy theories or other questionable science in. They bring some of these political topics in, and we don't need to go there because they're not the same. Okay? We need to be clear. I'm not going to name any of the things, but the two that people always bring up when you bring the science up with vegetables and things, they bring up two political issues and social issues. It's like, but those are points of contention. There are literally researchers who disagree with the status quo. Okay? It's just that there is somewhat of a consensus on some of those, and then some of them are politicized. Okay? And we need to be clear there. There's at least points of debate in the research. That's not the same thing. Now, by that same token, I think the layman does need to be very, very careful in jumping on those issues. That can be problematic, particularly if you really don't know the science. But here's the issue when it comes to vegetables. This is not a point of contention. This is not even debated anymore. Because here's the thing. If you're going to counter science, you have to have data and evidence to match what you're doing. And the problem is there isn't evidence. There's little minor conspiracy theories about anti-nutrients and other things. All right? And we need to be clear here. And people also forget that a lot of quote-unquote anti-nutrients are actually beneficial for health in and of themselves. They have all sorts of antioxidant properties and things. So again, it's not as if this term is a catch-all of stuff that's automatically bad. No, it's just being used as a term for anything that can potentially block the absorption of something else, in any situation, or reduce the absorption. All right. And ironically, a lot of the major anti-nutrients they're concerned with just go away with cooking those plant foods. You just cook them. It's almost as if humans function really well on cooked food. Yeah, go figure. Amazing how that happens. Okay. But in order to stand there and think that vegetables are bad for you, you literally have to believe that every nutrition researcher in every country and every university on earth is part of a global conspiracy. Okay? Have that, and then look how crazy these people get. It's literally, they go from, oh, vegetables bad to butter is good. Literally refined junk food. You know, the same people who will stand here, these extreme carnivores, they'll argue with you about refined stuff, and they'll be like refined sugar. And I agree, refined sugar is not a good thing. Okay? We know that excess refined sugar, and excess is actually fairly easy to reach. We know it's problematic. See, that's the point. There's research, there's science supporting this. Okay? There's a pretty strong growing consensus on that. What there isn't is research supporting that vegetables are bad for you. The data is so overwhelming, and unconnected, unrelated studies in unrelated areas showing over and over and over and over at the population level that groups of people who consume more vegetables have lower rates of cancer, heart disease, and other things than people who don't. And I mean, it scales. There's been so many studies looking at this that show that just on average, someone who eats low vegetables has higher rates of disease than someone who eats moderate vegetables, and then the moderate vegetables inferior to people who consume really high amounts of vegetables. In fact, it seems to scale beyond our ability to measure it, meaning we haven't found the upper threshold for some of these phytonutrients and a lot of the beneficial things we find in plants and their ability to fight cancers and all sorts of free radicals in the body, to improve various cardiovascular risks. Okay, we haven't even found some of them upper thresholds. Are like, in theory, we think the highest ones we measured, their benefits may still happen from consuming even more. This is what the consensus is. Yet these people are somehow convinced, and they've been convinced, and they convince other people, and anyone listens to these absolute morons and charlatans. And I know people get mad when I bring up the Jordan Peterson, but I'm sorry, but this guy, what more can you say? I don't need to know anything else about him other than he is dumb enough to have bought into this. And then discuss it. All right? That automatically makes me assume any of his work is problematic. Okay, because he can't be that intelligent. It's not possible. But that is the issue. People have bought into it, and it blows my mind that this has spread to any meaningful degree. It's just absolutely crazy that anyone could look at the sum total data and conclude it's even possible. It's like we live in idiocracy. When someone looks at what all the data is and that's compiled over all these countries and all these researchers on vegetable intake, when any person stands there and says vegetables are bad for you, I swear to God I'm watching idiocracy. It's almost like water, like from the toilet. That's what they sound like. That's what all of you sound like when you support this.